morning when the sun's come out. After a week of the sun hiding while we're hiding, it's nice to see it come out. I just wanted to come in today to talk a little bit with some tools and tips you can use to stay calm and grounded during this time of uncertainty and unprecedented global situation, where I can imagine, myself included, that sometimes we can get caught in the thoughts and the worry and that feeling of anxiety. I think my sense is less so in Spain, actually. Being from the UK and seeing everybody from the UK on Facebook, I kind of feel like it's stronger in the UK with the fear and the panic and anxiety. I'm sure it's going on here as well, but my sense is Spain, or the people I'm connected to, it's not quite so intense as I'm noticing there. But first of all, I want to talk about our nervous systems, our autonomic nervous system, which is what runs our kind of a lot of our feeling of calmness or not. So just in case people aren't aware of this, I'll just give you some of the science. So our autonomic nervous system, we have our parasympathetic and our sympathetic. And when we're in the sympathetic nervous system is when we're in fight or flight or freeze or fawn. They're not talked about so often. Fawn, they're stress responses basically. So we know what fight would feel like, when we get into an argument or we're getting like, or flight, we want to run away. Freeze, we feel a bit stuck and kind of not able to move. And fawn is actually one that's quite commonly a stress response for women, actually. It's the fawn, it's people pleasing. It's like making sure everyone else is okay, but abandoning ourselves in the process. So what we want to do is power up the other nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. So we're not in this stress response of fight, flight, freeze or fawn, but we're in the calm, connected, socially connected, resting and digesting nervous system when we're feeling calm and grounded. And obviously it's interesting I use the word socially connected because it's more difficult at the moment to feel socially connected in actual physical space with people. And actually, when we're in a physical space with people and our brains all attuned to each other, we kind of get that sense of social connection and calming, which in our own isolated boxes at the moment may be more difficult to find, especially because of what's going on with the worry. So when I do the meditation, I'll be directing you at the beginning to do a breath work or breathing in a way that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. And so when we breathe in, we stimulate the fight or flight sympathetic, and when we breathe out, we stimulate the parasympathetic. And so what we want to do is take a breath in, but really lengthen the exhale. And I tell people to make their mouth a bit like a cat's bum, really small. So to really let the air move out of our mouth really, really slowly. And we can do that at any point during the day. So I'll guide a meditation, but the general things I'm talking about and the kind of things I'm guiding you to do in the meditation, you can do bits of those through the day. And that's what I recommend, this presence. So when we meditate and when we are intentional with our life, intentional with our thoughts and intentional with our breathing, we are developing that muscle of presence. And so that for me is one of the real foundations of life in general, developing that muscle of presence. And this time in our life right now where we're almost forced into slowing down is a really great way to really develop this muscle of presence, also because we might be finding our thoughts going a bit like this. So we've got great material to practice on, if you see what I mean. So we can do all sorts of things during our day to develop the muscle of presence. We can notice our breathing, notice our feet on the ground, just take a moment to look around and just see what we're seeing more clearly. We can close our eyes and listen. We can tune into what we can hear. All the senses basically to become more embodied and present in our experience of life. We can notice how our clothes feel on our body. We can notice our emotional weather. We can notice our thoughts. It's all about witnessing and noticing our actual experience from the truth of who we are, not just being caught in the slipstream of life and not really noticing what's going on for us. So the more we can do to develop that presence muscle, the more we're able to stay rooted and conscious when the things come along and kind of knock us around, like someone communicating with us, something we read on Facebook, something that triggers us in some way. The stronger our muscle for presence is, the stronger we can stay rooted to the present moment and rooted to ourselves. And so anxiety, which some people may be feeling at the moment, they might be having worry, anxious thoughts, and then that might create a physiological response of anxiety in the body. But what we can do in those instances is become more present, but know that whenever we're thinking thoughts that create anxiety, we're not in the present moment, because anxiety and worry thoughts live in the future. It's always not, mostly anxiousness comes from thinking about the future, worries about the future. And of course, we never know what the future holds. We always only ever have this moment right now. This moment right now is all we ever have. And most of the time, we are safe in this moment right now. So we can really always take comfort from feeling a sense of safety in ourselves in this moment, and notice that these thoughts that we're spiraling off thinking are just thoughts. You know, our thoughts are not us. We often in our society, Western society, we identify so strongly with our mind and our thoughts as who we are, but actually it's not who we are. It's just our thoughts. It's our mind computer that is an amazing tool, but it's not who we are. The thoughts, most of the thoughts that come through the day come spontaneously, just popping up. A lot we can think, obviously intentionally as well, but a lot of the thoughts just kind of often are unconscious, subconscious, and they just come from our conditioning. So our mind computer that's been developed with its computer program through our life, our belief systems, our thoughts about ourselves and the world from developed in childhood, the conditioning we receive from the world that we live in. You know, as women, the conditioning from the media and magazines and all that kind of thing about beauty, all this stuff. And our thoughts come from, you know, this computer. And so the more we can develop this muscle of presence and connection with the truth of who we are, we can notice when we have these thoughts. And that's what meditation is about, is developing that, that presence of the witness, who we really are inside our heart, inside our body, in our soul, spirit, whatever language you want to use, to then be able to notice the thoughts and not just be up in these thoughts. I kind of see it like clouds kind of coming past, and we can choose, or we often don't choose, but we hop up onto a thought cloud and we go from one thought to another, to another, to another. And before we know it, we're like miles away from who we are in this moment, often some thoughts about whatever it might be. And that's okay. It's not like a bad thing to do that, but it's just to be able to have that muscle underneath to notice and bring ourselves back. And that's kind of when people practice meditation, that's what they're doing. They are practicing the ability to, might drift off, bring myself back, drifting off, bringing myself back. And it's that anchored rootedness of I amness underneath our emotional weather, our thoughts, things that are happening that aren't actually who we are. So onto emotions, and we could get quite triggered into different emotions at the moment, of fear or anger or frustration at any point in our life, and particularly now it's almost like a petri dish, is that the expression, where everything's quite intense. And with emotions, like thoughts, they come, if we honor them and we feel them, then they go. And it's when we kind of just leave them there humming away down below and not noticing them and not letting them kind of be felt, that they go into the emotional backpack, and then that just kind of gets stronger and stronger and stronger through our life. So it's a practice to kind of really tuning in with ourselves, what's happening for us in the moment, feeling it all, allowing it all, honoring it all. And as well as present, excuse me a minute. As well as presence, or you can call it like mindfulness, conscious awareness, presence, consciousness, all different words, whatever resonates for you, as a foundation. And what goes along with that foundation is self-kindness. So to be kind to all of our experiences, all of our thoughts. Quite often, sometimes in meditation, someone might then go, oh, I've done it again, as in gone drifting off in the thoughts. But then that's kind of not being kind to ourselves, because in every moment, every level of consciousness we have at any given moment, to be kind to ourselves and kind to that experience. So, you know, sometimes we don't want to be kind to certain emotional experiences that we have because they don't feel good. We don't want to feel it. We want to push it away. If we can welcome it with with kindness, and be kind to the thoughts we might have. Like, say, for example, we might have negative self-belief, negative chatter. I call it, excuse my French, but I call it headfuck FM. We have headfuck FM, and there's all these different stations. Like there might be the poor me station, victim. There might be, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not clever enough. The voice of our teacher from school, like all of these radio stations that are going on. And sometimes if we notice how we're speaking to ourselves, we then might be like, oh, doing it again. But then we're kind of like, it's like in Buddhism, they call it the double arrow. So first of all, the arrow goes in of the negative thought. And then when we notice it and go, oh, you know, that's like the double negative. I hope that makes sense. So to be kind to all parts of us. So that's what I feel is a really great foundation in living a spiritual life, is to have the muscle of presence being developed and the muscle of self-kindness being developed, and they kind of can go together. So yes, anything else I wanted to cover? That's kind of it. Has anybody got any questions before we go into doing a meditation together? Nope. Okay.
If you do have later questions, maybe at the end, you can either post it on Facebook and then we can start a conversation there, or feel free to use the chat window. There's a little bubble that says chat, and then you can just write it out before the meditation or after, and then we can address it afterwards.
Yeah, so when I do meditations, I don't always, I don't structure a plan it in advance. So I hope it's about 15 minutes. So if anybody really has to leave by 12 o'clock, can they tell me? Because I can't, because I have my eyes closed and I'll just be in the flow. I don't always know. How do you stop thinking negatively? So this is the thing, you can't stop. Thank you, Susie, for your question. You can't, well, the negative thoughts, you can't necessarily stop, but you can drown them out with positive thoughts. Like you can amplify with intention positive thoughts. So for example, when you catch a negative thought, a really good practice to do is to have a journal for like the time of a week or 2 weeks. Have a journal or a notebook and just write down every time you catch a negative thought, you know, so you can start tracking how you're thinking, and then you can see a pattern. You can see a pattern and you can see the kind of ways you're talking to yourself, and then you can flip that around and kind of seed the positive thoughts to counteract that. So for example, it could, you know, a lot of these negative thoughts I sit on, for women, because that's who I work with mostly, they sit on two foundational beliefs of I'm not enough, or don't shine too much, don't be too much. And all the individual ones kind of sit on top of that. So once you can work out what the thoughts are, for example, I am not enough, I'm not worthy, as a negative thought, you can put that on its head, I am enough, I am worthy. And the more you actually choose to say this to yourself, and a really good thing to do is to actually say it to your eyes in the mirror, and it is a bit edgy for people to start with, but that's because it's your edge, and so that's where you're making transformation happen. But to actually say, I am enough, I'm worthy, and just, you know, you can journal this, you can say it to yourself, and almost like you're changing your neural pathways, because these thoughts are created neural pathways, you know, because they're like grooves on a record, you know, that they've been thought so many times, that groove's really easy to get into, but it's intentionally creating a new groove. And actually sometimes even just catching those negative thoughts and witnessing them and going, oh my gosh, I had no idea I spoke like that to myself, is enough to start creating the change. Awareness, nothing in our life can ever change without awareness first. Awareness is always the first step. And just having a notebook and writing down these negative thoughts, seeing the negative thoughts in black and white, is the first step to transforming them, because you can't ever change anything till you see it. So that's the first step. And then you can be intentional with your thoughts by doing affirmations, this kind of thing. Also healing work. So one-to-one work, like the kind of work I do, so you actually find out where these thoughts originate. Because often it's like a house of cards, you know, builds on top of each other. But if you get to the foundational experience in life that created this pattern and take that card out, it all falls down. So it could be the way a teacher disciplined you at school. It could have been being a bullying experience, you know, something in life started this negative thought pattern, whichever pattern or channel on the headfuck FM it is. So getting down to the root of that, and then, you know, shining light onto that and healing that, can actually tumble away. the cards on top, the kind of negative thoughts. I hope that makes sense and helps. And yeah, reach out to me if you want to, you know, talk more about this. This is what I do. I'm really happy to do that. Okay. Okay, so if everybody is sitting, thank you, my pleasure. So if you're not already, I recommend that you kind of just wriggle around, get yourself comfortable. And then I invite you to gently close your eyes. And I'm just going to track my breath for a few moments, and I recommend you do the same because I've been talking a lot. So I just want to settle my breath. So at this stage, I invite you to place your hand or your hands over your chest area, your heart area, just where feels good. And first of all, just notice your breathing. And I'm going to do this for a few moments myself, just to settle myself. Just notice how you're breathing without judgment, just noticing, are you breathing up in your chest? Is your breathing deeper into your belly? Is it fast? Is it slow? Just noticing and witnessing at this stage. Notice your chest rising and falling as you breathe. And then we'll take some deep breaths in together, like I mentioned, excuse me, at the beginning. So in through the nose and then slowly out through the mouth. So let's do that on the count of 3 together. 1, 2, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's just keep doing that for a few moments together. And on the next exhale, see if you can drop some tension. Often we hold it in our jaw, in our shoulders, in our tummy. And then on your next exhale, see if you need to sigh and let out any noise like, oh. It's amazing how just making a noise often can really release some pressure or tension. And then one more deep breath in and out, and then let your breathing settle back into its natural rhythm. And keep tracking your breath. And just notice how after a few deep breaths, how your breath has changed. And maybe it's not, and that's fine as well. It's all good. Your experience right now is always right for you in every moment, including in this meditation. Notice if it's deeper, if it feels more nourishing, if you notice if your heart is slower, if you're feeling calmer or not. Just notice. And then notice you are sitting in a chair or lying on a bed, wherever you are. I can't imagine anyone standing up. So wherever you are sitting or lying, put your awareness into every part of your body that is touching that surface that is not you. Really notice how it feels in your body to be connected to the chair or the bed. Really notice if it's the backs of your thighs, your buttocks, your back. Really amplify your awareness in that part of your body. And notice you're being supported. You are supported by the chair, and you can relax a little bit deeper into the support of the chair or the bed, whatever is supporting you. Knowing you are supported, you can let go a little bit more of what you are carrying in your thoughts, your emotional body, your energetic body, everything that's kind of, you know, the heavy weights we carry that gets, you know, our plates get added to, more and more plates to spin. See if you can just relax some of that away. Just for this time together now, drop some of it away. And being in this moment right now, all together in this beautiful country of Spain, using amazing technology to connect with each other. You are supported. And so next, if we place our awareness into our legs, so starting at our hips, and we can notice one way of, I'm leading you down into your feet just to say, to ground you. And one thing I find really helpful, you can do this with me or just put your awareness in your legs, is I imagine roots growing from my hip bones all the way down my thighs, roots twisting and turning as they go down through my thighs, down through my knees, down through your calves, your shins, all the way down to your feet. And then the roots grow through your feet, deep, deep down into the earth, grounding you, connecting you. And really put your awareness now in your feet, where the roots have taken you down into the earth. So imagine how, or not imagine, but put your awareness into your feet, how they feel. Are they in socks or slippers or shoes or barefoot? Really amplify your awareness of your feet. Really feel how they feel. Feel really grounded. And this is what grounds us. It really helps us really get connected to the present moment, because like I was mentioning in the introduction chat, we're often up in our head and often even out of our head and out of our body in our thoughts, like discombobulated. Whereas when we're down in our feet, we are really grounded, because it's the opposite end of our body to our head bubbles. So even just taking a few moments through the day and noticing the connection you have with the ground, putting your awareness in your feet can be really, really helpful, feeling really grounded. And you can really notice every part of your foot that is connected to the earth, so or the ground. So your heel, the side of your foot, your arch might rise slightly, the ball of your foot, the tips of your toes from your big toe all the way up to your little toe. Really notice all the nerve endings giving you sensation of touching the ground and how that feels, and powering that up. And again, knowing you're supported. You're supported by the chair, you're supported by Mother Earth, always. Always there supporting you. And keep breathing in a relaxed way. And then now place your awareness up by your hands. So your hands may still be over your heart. If not, I invite you to place them there. One or both hands, whatever feels good. And really notice your hands. Put your awareness into your hands and the connection they have with your body. And then feel your body from the inside. Feel how it feels to feel your hands on you. Really power up that connection you have with your hands and your body and your chest area. And then now place your awareness below your hands in your heart, just as best you can. There's no right or wrong with any of this. And let's power up our heart space now, because the more we're connected, grounded with our feet on the ground, connected in with our heart, calming our breath, these are really amazing ways to calm the nervous system, to really get into the present moment and to get into the truth of who we are, not in our thoughts. So more not stopping the thoughts because they're part of us. It's accepting all of ourselves, but noticing them. And so a really great way to power up this feeling of love is thinking of somebody or a pet who we love unconditionally. So imagine that being, that person or that pet, how it feels to love them, how you show them love, hugging or kissing, and really power up that feeling of love in your heart. That feeling of love that you share with this being. And let's take a few breaths through this heart space. And all that means is breathing, which we obviously do through our mouths, but breathing with our awareness in our heart space. Notice how that feels. And this feeling you have of love for this other being is also the love you can power up for yourself, that it radiates out to other people, but you can then reflect it also back into you to nourish and nurture yourself, to love yourself. Because you are worthy of love and you are enough. And this feeling is in you. You can use that for yourself as well. And I'm going to ask you a question in a moment. And this question is just for you. When I ask you the question, the first word that comes up is what's true for you. It's coming from your heart because we're connected in there now. You give it a few more moments, the head will want to join the party. And that's coming from your head, which is the amazing tool, mind computer, but not you. And that word, I'll talk to you a little bit about it when we come out of meditation. But that question is, how do you most want to feel in your life? How do you most want to feel in your one precious life? And hold on to that word. And I'll give you some sort of guidance with that when we come out. So anchor this feeling of how we've been led through this time together, feeling more calm in our nervous system with our breathing, changing our breathing, feeling more grounded, feeling connected to our heart. And you can do this in, say, 60 seconds at different times during the day. You can just stop, close your eyes, take a few intentional deep breaths, track your breathing, notice your feet on the ground and connect with your heart. And I'll put some notes in afterwards of those steps. And you can do that within 60 seconds. Sometimes it might take a bit longer to begin with to kind of get used to this feeling if it's new to you, but you can do it really quickly after some time, and then you can just ground this presence through the day. So maybe wriggle around a little bit. You might want to wriggle your hands or feet, just kind of break the energy, and then gently open your eyes whenever's good. No hurry, stay with it as long as you want to. Okay, so the word that came up for you, whatever the word was, just maybe give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day to journal. Maybe after this, if you have the time. As an example, say it was love. As an example, think, where do I feel love in my life right now? Where have I felt love in my life right now? What does love feel like? And how can I bring more of it? And I'll write this down as little notes afterwards. How can I bring more of this into my life? Where are my opportunities? Or if it's peace, the same, it might be peace. Safe. Yeah, that's a real word for now, isn't it? To feel safe. So yeah, so you could ask yourself and reply in a journal or a notepad. Where do I have a feeling of safety in my body? Often we feel safe when in our feet, in our arms, down our spine. Often when we don't feel safe is in our chakras, like in this kind of column where we get emotional triggers in our throat, heart, solar plexus, gut, root or pelvic floor, where we can collapse a little bit more, where we're not feeling safe. So where do I feel safe? Where do I find a sense of safety? When have I felt safe in my life? And just to have, it's just having awareness over how you want to feel and what you can actually do to be kind to yourself, to bring yourself more of this feeling in your life. So yeah, if anyone else wants to share, then feel free. And if anyone's got any questions as well. And look, I can't believe it. It's 1 minute. My pleasure. It's 1 minute to 12. What perfect timing. I can't believe it. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, and if not, I hope you go into whatever you're connecting with next for your day with a bit more peace, a bit more presence, and I'm sending you all lots of love.
Thank you, Lucinda. I've recorded this, so I will share the link to the video as well on the group. Okay?
Wonderful. Okay. And I'll put some notes. Let me remember what I said. I put notes about how to ground in and what to do with the word. Okay, yeah, I'll do that now. I'll put it on the thing. Thanks, Anne. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.